you very much. It's the first time for me to be a movie star, and really appreciate your help. In China, we would say thank you to CCTV, which is a China state TV station. Here, I would say thank you to AEC. You probably have seen from the picture that I used to have more hair compared to today. That's because at the early days of Huawei, we have the majority of the business coming from the fixed broadband side. We still need wire. Okay. But as we grow more and more our business from the wireless part, so we all start to lose hair. But both wireline and wireless technology will continue to play a very important role, especially when we look even further ahead of us. So Huawei has been a very active player in the field, so-called NBN, National Broadband Network. As Philippa mentioned yesterday, there are a lot of countries have announced their own national broadband plan, and many of them have either provided subsidy to the telco industry to provide the so-called national broadband network. Some countries even decided to created a state-owned business to get into the field and do the network themselves. But there are many ways to accelerate the adoption of higher speed internet. Today, I would like to take the following 35 minutes to go through where we see in the future years the NBN will evolve. We used to call it NBN, now we call it NBN 2020 because it's only 5 years away. It's a good time to look at and to prepare for it. ITU has a Connect 2020 initiative. So from there you can see that they forecast or is advised for even bigger, strong growth in terms of household penetration for broadband until year 2020. Also, a bigger coverage to the rural population, which will create more business efficiency, decrease carbon footprint, and also create a better environment for continuous innovation. We see some foundation that is needed. For example, in the past, we mainly consider universal service for broadband to try to bridge the digital divide. But now when we move further to look at the year 2020, we need to look at not only the unconnected, but also the underconnected. As we have more and more internet applications presented through traditional PC, laptop, or nowadays iPad, or the Huawei MediaPad, and also the Huawei P8, the latest smartphone, then we need more and more bandwidth. Just today, the Chinese government have also released a state council instruction to the telco industry to, I think in the year 2015, we will add in China 80 million home pass for FTTH in 1 year. So this is an effort by some countries, including China, to upgrade to higher speed internet for the residents, for the business. 25 meg, according to the definition from FCC last year, is the minimum bandwidth for entry-level broadband. Okay, so below 25 meg is no longer called broadband in the US. With the technology progress and breakthrough, we expect that by year 2020, you will see a lot of so-called gigaband deployment. So bandwidth with 1 gig or even 10 gig is possible. In the US, we have seen that we have some telco operator launching 10 gig service at the moment, mainly targeting enterprise customers. Of course, at the same time, we need to continue to cover more homes. Okay. In some of the more remote areas, we need to also leverage wireless technology. For example, we have an interesting solution called hybrid bonding. Okay. In some areas where the copper loop is too long, so it's very difficult for customers like Deutsche Telekom to offer very competitive high-speed internet over existing copper. And rolling fiber to some remote area for only a few households is also very challenging in terms of the business. Okay. So now they're looking at something we provide called hybrid bonding, where you can combine the bandwidth of both fixed internet and also mobile broadband, and present to your customer it's an internet connectivity with constant fixed broadband performance, right? Always connected. It's a constant bit rate, okay, and of course unlimited download cap. But at the same time, you also have a peak bursty bandwidth enabled by LTE. So there are interesting technologies to help have a bigger coverage, likely to 99% of the customers you have or the citizens we have. At the same time, everything will be connected, right? Internet of Things, including the fixed internet connectivity for your refrigerator. Okay. If you look at the IoT industry, actually I think at least 60% of the IoT connectivity will be expected to be through what we call the short-range wireless connectivity. Okay. Zigbee, Wi-Fi, so this kind of a short range. So that means very likely you will need at least to have a fixed broadband as maybe you can consider that as a backhaul for that short-range wireless. Okay. So that means the home connection, the fixed network will continue to play a very important role. Okay. But of course, today still this kind of a situation is not hardened for mission-critical IoT applications. Because today, very likely, your home Wi-Fi device is not carrier grade. Okay? It's not designed for mission-critical. You could end up with power outage. You could have some other issues. The security mechanism over Wi-Fi connectivity is still something we need to address. Because maybe you can pick up some Wi-Fi signal along the road or in some public space. But is that something safe? Is that something secure to use? We don't know. Okay. So this is something that Huawei continue to work on to make sure that everything will be connected safely, securely, to serve different kind of application scenarios. So we need to, of course, continue to add more spectrum for 4G, 4.5G, 5G. But at the same time, for unlicensed bands, wireless technology, we should enhance them to make sure that although the frequency is unlicensed, but the connectivity is something that is safe to use. So we see that NBN 2020 was, between 25 meg to gig band will be a great enabler for infinite innovations. It is also a foundation for the society to embrace new applications, new business models, and industries. It is also a space where every heart and soul connects, so it provides a bit of more human touch to the technology. Because today when we look at smartphones, we're looking at a little screen. But when we use high-definition video or ultra-high-definition video, or even holographic rendering technology, communicate with human or with the sort of virtual reality, then it brings more emotional connectivity with every one of us, with the world. Rather than, today we see a lot of so-called smartphone zombies on the street, right? We watching at a smartphone screen like a zombie, and then you bump into a lamppost or something on the street, right? It's really not something that I would like my child to do in the coming years. So I think video technology is a good way to keep everyone head up in the coming years. Of course, it is also a foundation for Industry 4.0 kind of latest technology breakthrough. In Germany, they have this big initiative called Industry 4.0, basically try to bring more flexibility and agility to the traditional powerhouse of manufacturing in Germany. Similarly, in China, we also have actually recently two very hot turns. One is similar to the Industry 4.0, it's something we call the Manufacturing Industry 2025. It's also similar to the Industry 4.0, but of course in China, we believe we're still between 3.0 and 4.0 at the moment. So we still need to make sure we can catch up in the what we call the more flexible industry for manufacture first, and then at the same time try to quickly move up to Industry 4.0. At the same time, we're looking beyond just the manufacturing industry. Okay? So hence the terminology Internet Plus. So it's for every industry. Okay? We can add the, at least we need to change the mentality to look at what kind of benefit the internet can bring to that particular industry. I can give you one personal example. One day I went to the Sports Mart. It's I don't know how you call it here. It's Decathlon. It's from France. We have it in China as well. Okay. Over the weekend, I want to buy a pair of running shoes for jogging. But it's too crowded. It's almost end of Saturday, so I cannot find my size. Okay. It's probably too many people are jogging in China nowadays. So I went back home with empty hands. And then next day morning I wake up, I said, let's try internet, e-commerce. I placed an order on Decathlon's e-commerce website on Alibaba's Tmall. It's an app on my cell phone. I placed the order and payment 6 o'clock in the morning when I wake up. And then I received my shoes the same day, 6 p.m. Okay. I was very surprised as well. Right? So that means, okay, not only the internet industry, right, but also the e-commerce, okay, the sports mart industry, plus the logistic industry, the delivery system, everything is coming together. And if you look at the Chinese logistic industry, it's also very, very modernized. So with APP, I can monitor where my goods is. So later I checked that they also actually have a big cache of goods in the city nearby, not far away from Shenzhen where I live. Okay. So this is just another example that Internet Plus is something that will be very big. But of course, in order to have Internet Plus, you need to have Internet first, and also high-speed Internet first. Let's look at the video here. What's some of the interesting application scenarios? We have a walking telepresence. It's not really a robot, but it's something that becoming very interesting, right? I would love to use that robot to monitor my kids' behavior at home. There are some interesting application scenarios in coming years with video technology. Today, most of the TV sets we have are still running at HD TV, but with coming years, we already have seen 4K ultra high definition TV becoming very popular in China. Because in China, in Japan, in US, the internet facility is already very, very advanced and fast. So that's why you see House of Cards, the Netflix show, very popular now in China and also in the US. It has a 4K resolution. Okay, so today the 4K version is still programmed with a very low bit rate, only 13 meg. But when we have the next release, when we have much higher speed for internet, then we will have a higher speed codec, and then offer even better picture quality. Because today they actually sacrifice the picture quality because they want to serve a bigger group of audience. Right? Now another very interesting factor is, previously we can use multicast technology to save the bandwidth. But today in the video side, a lot of people are moving to very different way of watching video. We do VOD. There's something we call the binge viewing. Okay? So when you watch House of Cards, you don't wait to watch it every day at the prime time for one episode. I think 1/3 of a Netflix customer finished the entire season 2 of House of Cards in only 3 days, less than 3 days, over one long weekend. So people continuously watch. Okay? It's very natural, right? So if your neighbor, your colleague is doing so, and you're not, then next day in office, your colleague would be telling you, the next episode. Right? So it's something that at least the teenagers, the younger generation don't want. So there are many ways to consume new bandwidth. So there are early movers into the gig band era. For example, Korea, they already have what they call the Giga Korea initiative. The target is by 2020 to have 10 gigabit service widely available. And then 100% 1 gig BTS. May sound a bit crazy, but crazy things happen nowadays. Also this week in US there is a so-called Gig City conference. Okay, it's also a number of major metropolitan cities in the US. They have a conference talking about how to move into the gig band era. The gig band is really something that is becoming very popular nowadays, at least in US, China, and Asia. So the Chinese government will have a big push into the so-called Broadband China initiative. They encourage the access to non-telecom infrastructure, as we see yesterday from the analyst Mason. Because when we move to LTE, when we move to FTTH, a lot of the cost will be about the civil work, the engineering cost. So really have access to the so-called municipal infrastructure and non-telecom infrastructure will be a big help. I can come to that later on what actions we have been taking in some of the countries. I think if you look at the world's top 20 internet companies, most of them, actually all of them, are in US and Asia. This is from Merimeter's annual report based on unique page view hits. Of course, Google is still the biggest. Right? It's the first thing you do every day to get to internet. But Alibaba from China, Tencent, Baidu, so these companies, they are also quickly, climbing up on the ranking list. And Netflix continue to be a phenomenon growth. In Japan, we have also Japan, Korea, we have some big names as well. But what really concerns me is I don't see any such name on the top 20 list from the European area. I think it's not fair. Right? I think when we talk about digital single market, it's more than just the telecom industry. It's also about how can we create a digital single market to basically reduce the impact of the different language barriers and also the different legal system difference. Make sure we have a real digital single market so that we can have really some more internet big names coming from European countries. So as I mentioned earlier, still today we have a lot of unconnected households. Okay? So different from FBB. FBB is looking at connecting the households, the business. And then according to our study, we still see a lot of under-connected households. So basically anything that is below 25 meg. Okay. I know that the European Union, they have 30 meg thresholds, but still that's not really achieved in many of the countries. And then of course, everyone is talking about this 100 billion opportunity to connect to smart Internet of Things. So these are the targets for us to look at, where we're going to do for MB in 2020. How can we get to MB in 2020? First, technology progress, technology breakthrough. Gigabit at any physical medium we have. And secondly, investment-friendly regulations to create more incentive for the private sector to put more investment into the broadband infrastructure. Fiber from the home is a bit strange name compared to fiber to the home. Fiber to the home is easy, right? It's telcos, cable companies trying to reach out to wire the homes, the community with fiber. But fiber from the home, it means we can find a synergy between the telco industry and other industries. Okay. For example, in China, the government has issued a regulation. It's a construction code for the construction industry. So all the new apartment buildings should have FTTH pre-wired when they get built, so that when they get handed over to the consumers, home buyers, then we have FTTH inside already. Okay. I think China being a developing country, we have a lot of new construction projects every year. I think it's an interesting and I think smart move to use that opportunity. Okay. This is probably something different from the Western European countries. Like in Roma, you can't do that because you don't have many construction projects. But I also noticed that here in Macedonia there are lots of construction projects. So maybe it's a good opportunity to look at, can we find a synergy between different industries? So this is actually beyond the regulation scope of the telecom industry. In China, when we try to push for this kind of regulation, actually it is the telecom industry minister. They reach out to the state council, and then who find this as an opportunity, and then they convince the construction industry, another minister, to agree on the same approach, and then it is something that is now working. Yeah. I think when we talk about FTTH, when we talk about LTE and small cell, we will have this kind of issues. How to simplify the cost, the engineering effort. Okay. And in the announcement today from the Chinese State Council, they also have reaffirmed a requirement that has been in place for a long time, that all the government buildings should provide easy access for telco industry to put base stations, whatever stuff that you need. Okay. Of course, provided it is safe for the government, the employees working in there. Right? But still, it does not allow the government agency to charge the telco for this kind of access. Instead, it should provide facilitation. So gigabit at any media now is really possible. Okay, fiber for sure, copper. Huawei is the promoter, and we define basically the G.fast technology. Now that has become a ITV standard already. So we believe this is something that will be very helpful to provide gigabit performance over copper. Okay. As a matter of fact, BT is now looking at their sort of next generation access project version 2.0, where they will use G.fast to provide beyond 100 meg connectivity. Okay. Coaxial cable. This is another very important infrastructure. Okay. Huawei is a relatively new player into the cable industry, into the DOCSIS. But now we also have our solution into the DOCSIS 3.0. And also we find synergy between the FTTH infrastructure. So we can have a hybrid of FTTH network and then combine it with coaxial cable. It actually does save a lot of fiber counts for the traditional FTTH, for the traditional DOCSIS system. It's a good solution to convert and upgrade to DOCSIS 3.1 with distributed DCCAP. And also combining FTTH, we can save a lot of fiber in the field. Wi-Fi. There are existing technologies working at 5 gig and other spectrum, give you gigabit performance. The challenge here is in-home coverage. Okay, so this is something that we have been working on very hard. The thing is, there are technologies that can help with the coverage in home. But the challenge is mainly because average consumers do not know how to provision them. Because today, most of the Cisco boxes or even the Huawei AP boxes are designed for enterprise customers' use, where you have a dedicated IT guy. Okay. But normally, we don't have an IT guy in average consumer's home. Okay. So maybe I'm the IT guy in my home, but I'm not an average consumer. I'm an IT engineer myself. Gigabit hybrid, okay. We can actually combine those different technologies together. So it's an interesting overlay solution we call hybrid bonding. I talked a little bit about that earlier. So basically, this is not only serving the residential customers in some of the remote areas, this is also a viable solution for business customers. Because this way, mainly it's providing two different new features. One is it gives you better dual uplink for redundancy. Okay? And second, it provides you with a good upload speed. Because today, typically, the DSL upload is relatively slower. But LTE could be a big help in that space. I think the UK is a very interesting example to move towards gigabit. In the last 5 years, or maybe even more than that, they have successfully delivered the so-called NGA, Next Generation Access. It is actually profitable, they put huge money into it, but really it is a Ofcom regulation optimization called bitstream local loop unbundling, created incentive for BT to put so much money in that. Now they're looking at NGA 2.0 to look at 500 Mbps. In the rural area, there is BD UK, Broadband Delivery UK project. It's provided by, it's from the government side. There's a government agency doing so through a bidding process to choose good private sector partners to participate in this kind of project. It's a non-profit project because it's mainly for the so-called the last 1/3 of the population in the rural area. So local government, national government provide funding, and then private sector will also match the funding to build this kind of project. This is also very successful in UK now, but what's next? It's not a decision yet, but BT is now seriously looking at hybrid bonding technology. BT has announced the intention to acquire everything everywhere. Right? It's still pending regulation and government approval. But one of the potential synergy there is to use LTE and corporate technology together to provide higher speed internet to some of the rural areas. So I think we see there are a lot of interesting new ways to provide gigabit to citizens in the metropolitan area and the rural area. Really have a mixture of fixed broadband and mobile broadband technology in the same telco company will be very helpful to leverage whatever technology available to deliver the best solution to those citizens. Investment-friendly regulation. Okay, I think Poland is probably a very good example that last year, October, they announced deregulation for open access in 76 municipal cities, where after careful assessment, they believe there is already good competition. Okay. So in those places now, they no longer require a physical local unbundling for whoever new investors roll out FTTH in those cities. And naturally, this has created a lot of regulation uncertainty. And now I think Orange is moving very quickly to roll out FTTH in those countries. In some other countries, they have something they call the regulation holiday. Okay? So it's not permanent deregulation, it's deregulation for a limited time. Okay? 5 years, maybe 7 years, it depends on the payback time. Okay? I think all these are good practice. Basically, trying to reduce the uncertainty, try to create incentive for new investment in those areas. I think physical local unbundling makes a lot of sense for copper, because copper was a investment that was laid down almost 50 or 40 years ago, and mainly through at that time the PTA entities, right? So it's state investment, it's government investment. So it is naturally that it is subject to regulation for local unbundling because it is a public asset. But today, if we are looking at new FTTH rollout, it is private investment in most of the countries. Right? So I think to deregulate and to at least give some regulation holiday, it makes a lot of sense. But of course, we need to make sure there is enough competition. Okay. Fiber from home. I mentioned that there is new construction code in China. Try to, well, it's not trying to, but mandate last mile access fiber laid out by the real estate developers. Also crowdsourcing. Right? In Norway, there's a company called Ohrid. It's actually an alternative competitive operator from with an energy industry background. So they have a lot of fiber themselves, but only in limited areas. For areas where they don't have fiber, because it's owned by some of the local energy company in those areas, they have more or less a franchise model to partner with those energy companies, where Ohrid will own the active network, the branding, the marketing stuff, and then it's up to the local partners to roll out the physical the fiber network and also do the customer service. But this is also an interesting way to move forward. Right? Now we're also working on something that we try to develop some in-house wiring for fiber to the home that is very easy to use for average husbands at home. Right? Because then when you try to redecorate your home, or really if you want to do the FTTH, you can do it yourself over one weekend, and then the telco company will help you to do the home pass and connect to your home. So I think fiber from the home, it's of course it's more than just fiber really from the home. We're talking about using different ways to reduce the cost for fiber home pass and fiber home wiring. Okay, don't just rely on only the telco industry to do it. It's actually much more efficient and economic to do it when it is combined with other engineering efforts. So, what will be the regulation change from now to year 2020? I think every country has its own situation, so there is no universal solution that can working for all countries in terms of regulation progress. But at least I think from Huawei's perspective, as a technology company with a wide experience and exposure to practice in worldwide market, we see potentially some points for optimization. First is, of course, more spectrum for LTE, for 4G, 4.5G, and also for 5G. But also, at least allow and better encourage fixed and mobile convergence in different companies. Right? So we had an example that been presenting this idea to the regulation in Egypt. previously, Egypt has only one fixed network company, Telecom Egypt. There is virtually no competition. Okay. It's a state-owned company, so with no competition. So you can understand, you can imagine that the service is not very good. So the citizens are not so happy about it. And then the government with this FMC license coming, so they told Telecom Egypt that I'm going to release new fixed broadband license to some of the mobile companies. Okay, I'll give you 2 years to prepare for it. Okay, but then we will have competitors in the fixed broadband area as well. Okay, so this has been give Telecom Egypt a big incentive to put more investment, put more effort to optimize the customer experience. So this 2-year time window is for them to really prepare for the coming competition. So sometimes the regulation is a big magic. Right? A small change could create big incentive for the telecom companies to move very fast. Second, we look at investment-friendly regulation. And on that side, potentially deregulation or at least a regulation holiday to encourage FTTH deployment. I think yesterday the analyst Mason report for Project Madrid is still based on today's numbers to forecast the coming years. But with gigaband and media kind of technology, with new regulation efforts, we could help to accelerate the FTTH rollout with much better payback time. And then I think a very interesting progress we have seen in a lot of the market is fiber from the home, okay, or fiber from other industry. Okay. Because fiber is really a must for coming years. And then to seek synergy between the infrastructures of a different industry is something we really need to look at to see what are the potentials. So I think yesterday the Project Madrid report already said there will be, I think, at least 4% of increase in terms of FTTH coverage if access to non-telecom infrastructure is being enforced. Right? So I think this is yet another example. Yeah. So this is my presentation about NBN 2020. Right? By year 2020, we should have at least a 25 meg, but very likely widely available gigaband performance to most of the citizens through gigaband over any media technology progress, through optimized regulation to encourage investment, and also use fiber from home kind of idea to reduce the cost for FTTH by seeking synergy between the infrastructures from different industries. Hopefully, with our joint effort, we can offer a better connected world for the citizens in every country. Thank you very much.